He stood at the barn door, frozen, eyes fixed on me, and in that moment I knew everything was over. But to understand how we got there, you have to know the whole story. I was a lonely wife on a quiet Colorado ranch, married to a man who loved the land more than he loved conversation. Mark, my husband, was a good man, dependable, hardworking. But over the years, our marriage lost its spark. After two miscarriages, we both drifted into our own silent worlds. He buried himself in farm work, and I buried myself in routine. That's when I grew close to Thunder, our prize horse, a powerful and beautiful animal I spent hours with daily. Brushing him, feeding him, riding him. I felt more connected to him than I did to my own husband. And while it may sound ridiculous, Thunder felt like the only being who understood me. My husband would joke, "You love that horse more than me," and I'd laugh. But the truth behind that laughter stung. Then came Logan. He was Mark's distant cousin, hired for the summer to help with barn repairs. Young, charming, and surprisingly attentive. He saw me, not just physically, but emotionally. Where Mark's eyes had grown tired, Logan's were curious. He asked about my interests, my pain, my silence. We'd work late together in the barn, and in that dusty warmth, something began to build. First in glances, then in laughs, and finally in those dangerously quiet pauses that lasted just a few seconds too long. One night, while Mark was out of town on a supply run, Logan and I were sitting in the barn, drinking iced tea under the soft glow of a lantern. The air was thick. I remember how close we sat, how my heart pounded as his hand brushed mine. That night, we crossed a line we couldn't uncross. It wasn't just a kiss. It was an entire emotional avalanche I had kept buried for years. And once we gave in, it didn't stop. Days turned into weeks, with stolen moments, whispers in the dark, secret touches behind the stables. Thunder, oddly, seemed to sense it. He would snort loudly, stomp, even whinny when we were too close, almost like he was warning us, or maybe just disapproving. But I ignored it, caught up in the fantasy that someone finally made me feel alive again. Then the inevitable happened. Mark came home early from his trip, unexpectedly. I was in the barn with Logan. We hadn't done anything yet that night, but the energy was there, and Mark saw everything he needed to see. He stood at the door, thunderstruck, no pun intended, and after a few seconds of silence that felt like hours, he looked straight at me and said, "I always knew you loved that horse more than me. I just didn't think you'd cheat on me in front of him." That sentence will haunt me for the rest of my life. Logan left that night without a word. Mark didn't scream. He didn't beg. He just walked out, went to the guest room, and shut the door. For weeks, we lived like that, two people tiptoeing around the ruins of a marriage. I wanted to explain. I wanted to justify my actions with loneliness, neglect, emotional starvation. But the truth was, I chose betrayal, and once you choose it, you can't unchoose it. The worst part was that I had broken not just my marriage, but something within myself. I couldn't look at Thunder the same way. The bond we had, the comfort, the peace, now felt tainted, as though I had dragged my last bit of innocence into the dirt. Thunder kicked down his stall door 2 weeks later, something he had never done before. It was like he too wanted out of this broken home. Eventually, Mark filed for divorce. We didn't fight. There wasn't anything left to fight for. Thunder was sold to another rancher in Wyoming, a man Mark trusted. I didn't get to say goodbye. Logan never contacted me again, and I didn't try to reach out. I don't know if what we had was love, lust, or just two broken people finding comfort in the wrong place. What I do know is that infidelity doesn't start with touch. It starts with absence, when love becomes habit, when attention turns into silence, when you stop being seen. And that's what happened to me. I needed to be seen, to be heard. And instead of asking for help, I made a choice that destroyed everything I once cherished. People say cheating is about physical betrayal, but it's the emotional kind that cuts deepest. The kind where someone else sees a version of you your partner forgot existed. If you're in a relationship where you feel invisible, talk. Don't bury it. Don't let the silence grow loud enough that someone else listens before your partner does. This story isn't one I'm proud of, but it's real. And maybe it will stop someone from making the same mistake. Or maybe it will help someone who already has to heal. We all want connection, but the moment we look for it outside the promises we made, we risk losing the very soul of who we are. I lost my husband. I lost my home. I lost the animal I once called my best friend, all because I thought temporary comfort was worth permanent damage. If you're still with the person you once loved, don't wait for disaster. Reconnect, communicate, and if it's too late, like it was for me, at least be honest with yourself about why. That's the first step to forgiveness, not from others, but from yourself.